Hi everyone, my name's Anuya Shetty. I am the social media manager for Fownd, and today I'm joined by Christina Rama, the co-founder and president of Fownd. How are you, Christina?
I'm good, Anuya. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I'm excited and a little nervous because this is my first time doing anything like this.
All right, we're gonna have a ton of fun. It's gonna be a really casual conversation, but just kicking it off a little bit, why don't you tell me about kind of your background as a physical therapist and what about your experience motivated you to found?
Yeah. I'm a physical therapist. I've been, a physical therapist for almost over 15 years now. And I worked in a variety of settings, not just outpatient, but also neuro hospitals. And I feel like this problem that I ran into is kind of across the board, which is that documentation was just taking a lot of time in the day
Yeah.
to finish up. It wasn't efficient. I wasn't able to spend as much time with my patients. So, that kind of was difficult for me. So I think that kind of pushed me into what we're doing right
Hmm.
now because, I was just kind of getting burnt out. And I thought maybe at first, hey, is it just me? But
Yeah.
no, I've been talking to a lot of other therapists and I've had other friends that have just burned out and they've actually left the field and gone into something else. And, I care about our profession and I want people to stay. So I was like, well, what can we do to make things better for them? And this was one pain point that I thought, you know what? Maybe we can do something about it. So when I started this, there was really no AI tools out there. There were some scribes, but none of them were like focused on PT in particular. And so a lot of the platforms were meant for doctors, which workflow is completely different from ours.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to create something that would work for how we work, which is, there's a lot of physical aspects to it. We see a lot of movement
Right.
that maybe a doctor wouldn't see and voice maybe won't capture. So that's why we came up with this idea to not only have the voice portion, but to start working on a vision portion as well. So it's more comprehensive than some of the other platforms out there. So basically, my goal with notation was just to give therapists some time in the day, so they could focus on patients and what they really love and not, notes. Nobody wants to do paperwork.
Yeah. That's fair, and I think that's another really great aspect of this kind of effort is that we're validating what other physical therapists have been feeling like of that burnout and, wanting to get back how they originally loved the job. But we kinda discussed how this product notation is supposed to help the physical therapist, but from a patient aspect, how do you think it also is, like, something for them that improves their experience?
Yeah, I think if a patient has more attention from the PT, then, maybe some of those little things that get lost when the
Mhm.
PT is more focused on documenting or their computer than actually, watching the patient, talking to the
Right.
patient. Because sometimes there's little things that come up in conversation, but you wouldn't find it out unless you were talking to them. Or, little movements that they do when they're doing their exercises that if you're distracted, you might not notice. So I
Yeah.
think the quality of care and how people are progressed, all of that can really be improved when a PT can focus more on the patient than whatever they're documenting. And I think from a patient standpoint, if they're getting better care, they may one get better faster,
Right.
but also just be happier with the care because they feel like they're actually being taken care of and they're not just, being run through.
Mhm. So just the overall quality of experience is
I
kind
think
of
so, yeah.
what
And hopefully patient
gets
outcomes,
up.
right? Like
Right, right.
better.
So we kinda talked about earlier about how this whole kind of idea came up before AI, and now there's a lot of scribes out, AI scribes for different professions. How does notation set itself apart from those? And what kind of features specifically would you point out as something that makes this like a groundbreaking tool for these physical therapists and these patients as well?
Yeah. So I think what has kind of started to enter the PT field um, is the AI kind of scribe. And I think there
Mhm.
is some note generation as well. But I think what makes ours different is ours is AI first. So our flow is meant to fit into what AI needs to create a note quickly. Whereas a lot of these other ones are kind of bolted on to an existing EMR flow. So it might not be as efficient as
Mm,
ours because they're trying to still work with something that is not quite as up to date. So it's like more of a retrofit fit instead of it just being created that way. So some of the feedback I've actually gotten from some PTs that have been using some of the other scribes is just that they end up having to do a lot of editing after the fact. And
yeah.
that seems to sometimes take more time. Our goal is that, if there is edits to be made, of course, we're allowing PTs to edit. They're always in control, but if there's edits to be made, they can see it while the note is actually being created because it will pop up on the screen and it's
Right.
just an after effect thing. So they can make edits live in any part of the note.
Okay. Do you have, like, a favorite feature? I feel like that's kind of a fun thing to know, what the
Yeah.
founder's favorite feature is.
Yeah, so that question is a little hard for me, but I think I'd say right now my favorite feature that we have been working on, and it's not completely rolled out yet, but I'm very excited
Okay.
about it, is
Little sneak peek.
yes, I think it's partially implemented, but as we roll out our daily notes and everything, it'll be even more ingrained into that is our shorthand to like sentence text. So
Oh, okay.
it'll be like, a PT can just write in, for example, um, that they saw a trigger point in a trap or something like that. And when they were doing manual therapy. So they'll just like shorthand text that in or type that
Mhm.
in, and then it'll pop out a whole entire sentence so that they don't have
Okay.
to type the whole sentence if they don't want to. It'll just take that and create the whole sentence that would be needed for a complete and compliant note. So I think that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
And then, we've also started working on just making the objective section a little more clean
Mhm.
so that it's easy to go between, your EMR and ours. And then we have some voice to text options too that we've been refining. So that should make it a little easier. So if a patient is being seen by the PT and they're away from the computer, they can call out and it'll capture that. Um,
Okay.
and then, of course, the last one that I'm excited about that is in the works for, down the line is we are working on computer vision. So
Okay.
that will capture functional movement, range of motion, posture, and even like home exercise movements that we can send to patients. So I think that will be exciting when it comes out.
Very cool. Honestly, that first shorthand one, I might need to snag that tool for myself because taking notes in college is just a headache and a half.
Yeah.
So that sounds really, really cool though. But I want to do a little AI discussion while you're here as
Yeah.
well. Obviously, with AI being such a big part of kind of everything, our daily lives with ChatGPT and all that, people are having concerns about privacy, data privacy, and how we're keeping AI a tool that benefits us without it overstepping that boundary. And especially when it comes to healthcare, that becomes a big issue with patient privacy and all these other kind of barriers and obstacles you can get into.
Yeah.
How, maybe not right now, but how is notation kind of taking that step to maintain the ethics of the healthcare industry and patient confidentiality?
Yeah. So first, our big one is, from the start, we built ours with HIPAA in mind. And we are currently working towards being certified HIPAA compliant and SOC 2 compliant, which is going to be big. The other thing is that we actually have created our own large language model so
Hmm.
that nothing has to be sent out to like the cloud or, OpenAI or Google, which a lot of the AI platforms right now, they don't have their own. So all that information is being sent out. So the thing that makes that exciting is everything is processed locally. So then you don't really have to worry about that data being sent out and, to the web. So that makes it a little more safe for everybody.
Hmm.
The other thing is, you know, the question about whether or not, we're going to take over for the clinician. And that's definitely
Right.
not our goal at all. We are making it so that the clinician is always in the loop. So while our platform makes suggestions or gives little nudges like, hey, you didn't necessarily ask this question and you need it for insurance, um, everything is, again, like I said, it can be edited. And so it always stays fully in control by the clinician. It's really just meant to be like a documentation assistant, but not actually make all the decisions that a clinician would make.
Right. Okay. That's definitely I think that's the reassurance that people want, especially with everyone like, "Oh my god, AI is gonna take all these jobs and everything," just knowing it's a tool and not necessarily, like, taking over. So, obviously, startups, I feel like, are kinda like the little baby for their founders. They put so much time and effort into the, making of the startup, and all this, um, thinking goes into it, really. Why was this specific, idea so important to you, and what do you kind of hope to see it become in the future as it gets more developed?
Yeah, so it was so important to me. Like, as I said before, I saw so many people leaving. I saw shortages for PTs. So patients haven't been really getting in as quickly as they should. You know, PTs aren't feeling satisfied in their job anymore. And a lot of it, you can kind of go back to it being documentation. But the other piece of it that we're hoping to eventually work on is trying to show insurance companies our value as a profession. Because in the
Mhm.
last several years since I've started being a PT, instead of reimbursement rates going up, which you would think, it's actually gone down. So that's kind of a scary thing when insurance doesn't value you
Yeah.
as much, which is one of the reasons why PTs have been having to see so many more patients than maybe they were before, because they see more patients in order to make the same revenue. Now, I know that's not across the board. There's some PTs that know their value and they've either gone into private practice, cash practices. There are avenues PTs can go and they get the value they deserve. But if you're strictly
Right.
working with insurance companies, that's not the case. So, what we're hoping to do in the long run is to take our outcomes and our data and put it in a way that we can show these insurance companies, we can lobby, um, and make them understand that we are making such a big impact in the healthcare system, that the little
Mhm.
bit of money they spend on us can cut down costs on things like pain management, surgeries, even imaging like MRIs, CT scans, those
Yeah.
things. So, my hope is that eventually, we can show them that, hey, we are a critical part of the healthcare system. So, hopefully, we can somehow get reimbursed like that, or just at
Yeah.
least get respected like that.
Fair, very fair. But just finally wrapping up,
Mhm.
for anyone that's watching, they're kind of haven't heard about Found, haven't heard about Notation, or they have, they're kind of on the fence about joining the platform and kind of trying it out. Do you have anything you want to say to those people to trying to get them to try it out and take a look for themselves?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know in our profession, we get really used to the platforms that we use, whatever EMR system that is, and it's hard to make a change, or you're not able to because your clinic is telling you which one you can use. So the nice thing about our platform is that it actually runs alongside any EMR, so you wouldn't have to change what you use. And right now, it's free to use, and you can, if you're not comfortable using it on an actual patient right now, you can do a test patient as many times as you want, just get used to the flow, see if you like it. So I think right now is a good time to just really try it out and see if you like it or not.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Christina. It was amazing talking to you, getting to know more about Found and Notation as a platform. Seems really, really exciting.
Thanks.
But I look forward to talking again sometime. This was Christina Rama, the founder and president of Found. We'll see you next time.